April 30th, 1943, off the southern coast of Spain. A fisherman spots something floating in the water, the body of a man in a Royal Navy uniform. When Spanish authorities recover it, they find a briefcase chained to his wrist. Inside, top-secret British documents. They tell us stories of Allied plans to invade Greece and Sardinia. Within days, the papers reach German intelligence, and soon after, Adolf Hitler himself. Convinced of their authenticity, he moves his army south, leaving the real target, Sicily, almost undefended. The invasion succeeds. Tens of thousands of lives are saved. And all because of one dead man who never existed. This is the story of Operation Mincemeat, a deception so perfect it fooled Hitler himself. Spring 1943, the Allies had won in North Africa. Now, the question was, where to strike next? For Winston Churchill and the Allied High Command, the answer seemed obvious. The next step to invading Europe was Sicily, the gateway to the Mediterranean and the key to Italy. But everyone knew it. Churchill famously said, "Anyone but a fool can see it's Sicily." The Germans expected it. Their defenses there were strong, coastal guns, minefields, and divisions of panzer troops. If the Allies attacked head-on, they would walk into a slaughter. So, British intelligence decided if they couldn't hide the invasion, they would hide it in plain sight. The plan began in a small, smoke-filled office in London, where two men, Ewan Montague of Naval Intelligence and Charles Cholmondeley of MI5, were brainstorming ways to fool the enemy. They were part of an organization known as the 20 Committee, a secret group specializing in deception and double agents. Montague proposed something outrageous. What if the Allies planted false invasion documents on a dead body and made sure the Germans found it? The documents would suggest the Allies planned to invade Greece, not Sicily, diverting German troops away from the real landing site. It was insane, but also brilliant. The idea wasn't entirely new. The British had once dropped fake maps from a crashed plane to mislead the enemy. But this would take it to a new level, an entire false identity. They called the plan Operation Mincemeat. First, they needed a body, someone who could plausibly pass as a Royal Marine officer, but whose death wouldn't raise suspicion. After days of searching morgues, they found one, a homeless man named Glinder Michael, who had died from ingesting rat poison. He had no family, no one to claim him. And now he would serve one last mission. The body was carefully preserved, dressed in the uniform of a British major, and given a new identity. Major William Martin, Royal Marines. Next came the details, the legend, as spies called it. They built him a life. A fiancée named Pam, complete with love letters, a photograph, and a receipt for an engagement ring, a theater ticket stub, a bank overdraft letter, even a letter from his father complaining about the weather. Every tiny piece designed to make him real, as one intelligence officer said. The success of the operation would depend on the smallest, most human details. Finally, the most important item, a briefcase chained to his wrist, containing top-secret letters between British generals, clearly outlining a coming invasion of Greece and Sardinia, with Sicily mentioned only as a diversion. The hook was set. Now they had to make the Germans bite. In April 1943, the submarine HMS Seraph carried the body to the coast of Spain, a country officially neutral but riddled with German spies. On the night of April 30th, the crew gently released Major Martin into the sea off the coast of Huelva. His body drifted ashore the next morning. Spanish authorities took custody of the briefcase, but the British knew their government couldn't be trusted. Spain was crawling with Nazi agents. Within hours, copies of the documents were in the hands of Admiral Wilhelm Canaris, head of German intelligence, and soon after on Hitler's desk. The documents looked genuine. Every letter, every signature checked out. They even smelled right. The paper had been carefully aged with salt water and seaweed. At first, some German officers doubted it, but Hitler believed. He ordered reinforcements sent to Greece and Sardinia, including entire panzer divisions. Field Marshal Rommel was moved to oversee defenses there. In Sicily, the Germans left only a fraction of their forces. The deception had worked perfectly. On July 9, 1943, Allied forces launched Operation Husky, the invasion of Sicily. Under cover of darkness, 3,000 ships and 160,000 men crossed the Mediterranean. The Germans were completely unprepared, expecting an invasion in Greece. Their forces were hundreds of miles away. Within a week, the Allies had captured key ports. Within a month, Sicily had fallen. And soon after, Mussolini was overthrown. Churchill called it the end of the beginning, all because of a man who never lived and the story he carried in his briefcase. When German intelligence realized they'd been tricked, it was too late. Hitler, enraged, refused to believe it even after the invasion succeeded. British intelligence, meanwhile, quietly celebrated. Operation Mincemeat had been such a success that even after the war, its details remained top secret for decades. The real man, Glyndwr Michael, was buried with full military honors in Huelva, Spain, under the name Major William Martin. His tombstone reads, "Of the Royal Marines, died in service, April 1943, beloved son of John Glyndwr, Michael of Aberbargod, Wales." Only later was the truth revealed. In the aftermath of the war, historians would call Operation Mincemeat the most successful deception in modern military history. It changed how wars were fought, not just with guns, but with ideas. Montagu later wrote, "In war, truth is so precious that it must always be attended by a bodyguard of lies." And this time, that bodyguard was a literal body. The man who never lived had saved thousands who did. The success of Operation Mincemeat paved the way for other great deceptions, from Operation Fortitude, which fooled the Germans about the D-Day landings, to modern psychological warfare. But it also raised uncomfortable questions. Was it right to use a dead man, someone who never chose to serve, as a weapon? Ewan Montagu later said quietly, "We gave him a life so he could give us victory. I think he'd have approved." Today, the story of Operation Mincemeat reminds us that in war, victory doesn't always come from strength, but from imagination. A single forged letter, a fake identity, a floating corpse, and the course of history changed forever. Adolf Hitler, the man who thought he could read the mind of every enemy, was outwitted by the simplest of tricks, believing what he wanted to believe. The real invasion of Sicily succeeded. Italy fell, and Europe began to turn toward liberation, all because of one man who never drew a breath, but carried a secret that changed the world. The man who fooled Hitler, the ghost who won a war, Operation Mincemeat.